Welcome to Driving the Future podcast. I'm Graham Broughton, co-founder and CEO at Autofixa. In today's episode, we're covering Barclays' vision for automotive payments. And I'm delighted to be joined by Ben Walker, Director of eCommerce and Platform Partnerships at Barclaycard Payments. Ben, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Graham. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me along.
No, thank you so much, and thank you for sponsoring this season of the podcast as well. It's hugely appreciated. I know you're a busy guy, so I thank you for you taking the time today. Now, with all of our listeners, we really like to understand a little bit more about our listeners, what their background is, and your role at Barclaycard.
Yeah, well, like you said, Graham, Ben Walker, Director of eCommerce and Platform Partnerships at Barclaycard Payments. Barclaycard Payments, part of the Barclays Group. Our mission in the partnership team, in the partnerships area of payments, is to create integrated payment experiences. So we integrate our technology into various e-commerce platforms and ERP platforms. BigCommerce is one of these, which is a mutual partner of ours. And this means we can help our customers make and take payments in a seamless, frictionless way by integrating that technology into those partner platforms.
Awesome. Brilliant. That's really good to understand. So in terms of kind of what you do at Barclays, we obviously heard a little bit about your specific role. How does Barclays see, and what's your kind of history and legacy in the kind of payments industry?
Yeah, look, I mean, Barclaycard is a part of a grand old institution. Barclays has been around for a long time. We're approaching our 333rd birthday. We're very well known as a high street bank, corporate bank, investment bank, and we have customers all the way from sole traders right up to multinational corporates. But the consistent thing there is that our purpose is to provide world-class service every time we're helping our customers, and part of that is championing innovation. So we were the first bank to open a cash point. We were the first to offer contactless payments to our customers on debit and credit card. We've recently created some fantastic new innovations around B2B payments and also open banking, which I'll talk a little bit about today. But embedding those solutions and partnering into the right platforms to create great customer experiences is what it's all about. We realize we can't do this on our own. We can't provide all these great customer experiences on our own. So partnering is critical. Such as the BigCommerce partnership is a prime example of this.
I mean, fundamentally, I think from my perspective, they are huge. If you kind of take back those two things that you talked about, the first cash machine and then contactless payment, I use contactless payment like unbelievable, well, on everything essentially. I don't think I know my PIN number anymore, so a cash machine would probably be useless for me now. But again, it's one of those things where you don't see what the evolutions look like and what level of innovation has to be put into it to make those things happen. And as obviously as there's a rising trajectory in the automotive industry and we're growing this landscape, could you give me a bit more about what Barclaycard is doing in terms of this segment?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, Barclaycard is really well positioned to help in terms of payments. We already have a lot of experience in this sector. We currently service 35% of the top 100 dealers in the UK, so we've got a really good depth experience already. And that has been traditionally, obviously, in the offline, in dealership, physical dealership model. But we're very well placed to help with the evolution in e-commerce too. And I think, Graham, what we have to recognise is, we all know this, the way people shop has changed massively over the last however many years, 5, 10, 15 years. E-commerce, mobile commerce, tablets, massively important for all our merchants out there. People can and do buy anything online, and automotive, cars, parts, servicing is absolutely no different. You only need to look at TV to see how much advertising is out there for online car platforms, and also sponsorship of national teams, sponsorship of major football teams. It's a huge business, but it wasn't so long ago that you had to visit a dealership to buy a car, but that's really changed now. If you look at the likes of Tesla, they only have shops that you can go in some shopping centres, and they don't have big showrooms, so you can go and physically see the cars, but you have to order online. It's been rumoured that manufacturers like Mercedes are going to move everything online in time. And personalization is now key, right? It's the same as any online purchase, knowing your customer, personalizing the experience. there are, motor manufacturers do encourage you to go online and configure your car, buy it online, order it online. And data from Google shows that 92% of purchases are started online. They start research, customers start their research online, and you can do all of that. You can do the whole purchase online. And, that's great because consumers feel more comfortable doing this. They can compare and contrast cars, they can configure them, they can read reviews. And when you look at things like car parts, there are vehicle inspection tools and virtual showrooms. So you can compare and check things are correct and be really confident about what you're buying. I've heard there's fitment technology for parts as well. I know you're working with brands like BMW and Mini. So buying parts and accessories online is also a lot more common. And there's also fitment technology where you can make sure that the car part fits your car. And this really sort of summarizes the point. The online tools are there, the payment capability is there to enable that purchase to be really, really smooth. So it will continue to shift online. I'm pretty sure of it.
So consumers' needs have moved online. Consumers' wants, their purchasing journey has all moved online. How does Barclaycard get involved in this market then, in this segment? Because we know it's a little bit latent in terms of its approach.
Yeah, sure. So look, we just think, how can we help our merchants smooth this process? How can we help create a great customer experience with the payments part of it? And for the merchant, it's all about making the right choice of technology. And largely, they would need to think about three things, and that's security, simplicity, and strategy. They want to make sure that customer experience is absolutely superb and smooth and integrated. And with security, there's a huge amount of fraud online still, and that's not going to go away, unfortunately. And we have fraud tools that are customizable, real-time anti-fraud tools that help our customers to try and stamp out as much fraud as possible and alert them to possible fraud happening. And it's important that they're customizable as well, because the fraud around a large purchase like a car or a car part is very, very different to one that would be for a small, a lower value, high volume item. So you have to be able to pull the levers to make that right. In terms of simplicity and strategy, I think a merchant has to consider the purchase in terms of, will it support the growth of their business? So if they're going to start trading overseas, for example, will their payment technology enable a good experience on cross-border transactions? Will they have good FX rates, things like that, that will provide that great customer journey? But really simply, that's where I come to the simplicity part, you have to have the right choices for payment on a website to create that great experience. So, if you give the customers the right way to pay, they can make the purchase in the way they want to. Because if you don't have that, some people will just leave. Digital wallets is a really important part of that. And in browser payments, I get very impatient. I work in the industry, so I'm probably worse than others, but I get very, very impatient. If I have disruption with a transaction or my experience at the checkout, I'll leave. I'll leave a website very soon if the payment isn't smooth and taken quickly. And we know that that's very widespread. So all this good experience, this technology being integrated and embedded creates, reduces that cart abandonment, it drives repeat business, and that's all really good for merchants to grow their businesses. But another element I want to touch on is we aren't just about the payment side of it. Barclays as a group has a whole range of other services and products we work with merchants on. But Barclaycard Payments marketing strapline at the moment is the payment part is just the start. And part of that is what insight and data we can give our merchants about customers. So we have 17 million customers in our bank who are using daily their debit and credit cards. And from that, we provide high-level national data to the ONS to reflect actually what people are spending money on. But we can bring that right down to customer level. We can bring that right down to talk to a merchant, look who's spending there, profile those customers, look where else they're spending, what's the share of wallet for the merchant, and what should they be doing to grab more of that wallet share. So in these days of personalization online, we can give some really, really powerful insight from our banking book that can help drive more insight and more personalization for the end customer.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, it kind of goes to underpin that Barclays isn't just about payments. The security, simplicity, and scalability. What I quite like about those three things as well is that when you talked earlier about the 35% of the DMSs that you're already integrated to, that's half the battle, you know, in terms of the kind of the payment component piece and the integration component piece. If you want to digitize your solution, that's half the battle in terms of kind of the whole piece of being solved. So that's super interesting. Now, you've spoken about trust and peace of mind in high value transactions. Are there any challenges specifically to the automotive industry that Barclaycard can support?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a few ways in which we're helping our customers with larger payment amounts. And you know, there's obviously traditional financing methods, the good old fashioned bank loan to help you actually buy a car. But in terms of once you've got your finance in place, it's actually, you know, how do you make that? Because they're quite large sums normally. So there's the first thing I'll touch on is account-to-account payments. This has been around for a while now. You know, people are starting to use it more. It's like any technology in payments; it takes longer than everyone thinks for it to reach that critical mass. You know, contactless payments took 10 years. We thought people would be right on it, but you know, it took 10 years to get to the level it's at now. Account-to-account payments is where, you know, you're making a purchase online, and you, instead of using the card rails to pay, you would go into your banking app to authorize the payment through your banking app. So I don't know if you've had that journey where it offers the option online and it switches you just to your banking app. You authorize the payment, it takes you back into the purchasing process and authorizes that payment. And that's a very nice, secure way that a customer can have to authorize that payment. And it also can help get around the issue of limits on card. That if there's a day limit or an amount limit generally on the payment on a card. I had a very difficult experience a few years ago buying a second-hand car when I had to be on the phone to my bank at the same time as making the payment, and that's just difficult. It doesn't breed a good experience at all. So it's also beneficial for the merchant. Account-to-account payments are largely based on what we call the faster payment rails. So that means that in theory, the payment can be made in a matter of seconds. So, you know, for a merchant, for the dealer, they can see that payment coming in. They can get that payment faster. And that's good for reconciliation with their accounting systems and what have you, to get that payment more easily. But it does take a while for these things to be adopted. We've also got a service called Pay by Link, which is great for customers when, you know, you're paying large amounts for servicing or for parts or even the car. But if you think about a dealership now, they're doing lots of things in the physical world with key drop-offs and what have you to make the process of dropping off your car and picking it up as smooth as possible. Well, if you've got to pay for your servicing, you know, the Pay by Link can be sent by a text message or email. You simply open that up, access the invoice, see what you've got to pay, make that payment online before you leave to go and get your car. Then when you get there, it's as simple as just getting your keys and going. There's no need to see the service manager. There's no need to interact with anyone. Just get in and out and carry on with what you're doing. And that's just a great customer experience, and where you can bring technology in to just smooth that journey for the customer.
And I think, you know, that's what customers expect now. They expect convenience. They expect ease. They expect the trust capability. Why can't they can pay for their groceries online? Why can't they pay for a service online? So if you're not in there offering those solutions, then you're not really engaging with the customers and what they want. And going back to your original point about the kind of 17 million touch points that you've got hard data to show that people want to use these types of transactions to make their lives easier, you know, and the convenience easier.
Absolutely.
So we're talking now a little bit about kind of the amplification of reach. So we, as a business, partner directly with BigCommerce to power websites, automotive websites, and we're working with you guys in terms of the kind of the education process for the automotive industry. But how is Barclaycard taking these mutual partnerships and merchants and consumers, and what are you doing to working with these guys?
Yeah, sure. So look, some of the technology I've mentioned, we already provide in partnership. And obviously you mentioned the BigCommerce partnership as well. So it's all about partnering in areas that's mutually beneficial to us and both the partner. I think one area where we're looking to integrate further and like to amplify our reach and extend more into the industry is with dealer management systems. And by embedding our payments into those dealer management systems, it does two things really. It makes the journey of integrating payments for a dealer much easier, because if they take on that system, payments is already in there. They haven't got to worry about a separate integration or tech build to get it in there. So it's far easier to actually adopt that service. And then as it's integrated, what it results in is a better customer journey for those payments being made. So it's all about, for both elements, the merchant and the end customer, taking friction out of the journey. So that's definitely one area where we're doing more and actively pursuing partnerships. We also have to recognise here that B2B is a big factor in automotive, particularly when it comes to parts and servicing. E-commerce, B2B e-commerce and B2B and payments is behind B2C, sorry. Just in terms of the tech and the journeys, I've spoken to some merchants who have been way behind in their B2B where, their B2C is. But this shouldn't be underestimated. Customers who are purchasing in B2B are also the ones that are buying in B2C circumstances, grocery shopping, like you say, anything. Their expectations will be the same, whether they're making a B2C or a B2B payment. So it's important to have the right technology, the right payment choices there. It's got to be a great customer experience if you're thinking B2C or B2B. And then just thinking about another angle, making payments to suppliers is also an area that we do a lot of. And we're partnering similarly with technology platforms to make it easier for customers. So in this instance, we've embedded our virtual card payments technology into ERP systems to make it easier to pay your suppliers in a digital and seamless way. It just makes it more digitized, more automated, and more compliant with business process.
Awesome. So we've kind of heard a bit about your kind of current integrations, your current strategy, and the history behind Barclays and Barclaycard. If we look towards the future and the role of digital payments, now this is quite exciting, I think, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about trends such as in-car payment systems or ICPSs, where people can purchase gas or fuel, as we call it in the UK, pay to charge your vehicle or order takeout for dinner, all from the kind of the comfort of your car. Because it's estimated that 600 million connected vehicles will generate nearly $500 billion in in-car transactions by 2030. So that's a phenomenally huge number.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah. How is Barclays looking at that as an area?
Yeah, it's a really good point. There's a lot of potential in it. There's a lot of areas where you can help smooth that journey. We're all in our cars a lot. There's a lot of different ways that you could think of paying from your car would be great. I think the really interesting thing here is that digital wallets are already in our cars via Apple and Google. Any new cars you get these days have a Google, an Apple Car option. So your phone is now fully integrated into the car infotainment system. It's quite simple. And so this is really only one step away from being able to pay directly from your car. Mercedes have already enabled this. They're already offering in-car payments. So it's here. It's gonna grow. In terms of other use cases or where we could see this really solving a few problems for customers, we've been working closely with a couple of payment partners, specifically in electric vehicle charging, so EV charging. It's not a great experience right now. It's part of the sort of things that we've got to get over if the ambitions of the government in terms of electric vehicle adoption are going to be met. There's big customer demand to make it better, and payments it's a central part of this. I'm thinking about those smooth payment journeys. ANPR, so that's automatic number plate recognition. That's another area we're working on. So this is the technology that's quite widespread again, where the technology will recognise your number plate. It's what we do for the congestion charge, for example, for taking payments from that. That's how that works. But there's a lot more use cases that you can work to. So car parks, some already do it, but it's frustrating because there's a mixture of still having to get a ticket, go to a barrier, come out of a barrier. So it's not quite there in terms of how that would work. It's early days. There's a lot more we can do. And there's things that you've got to think about if you're going through toll booths or through car parks. What if it's a car from another country, foreign number plates? How do we tackle that sort of thing? So there's quite a few considerations to make. But I think when we're thinking about any of this, the key factors, the main issues we think of are safety and security. So if you're going to pay, how are you going to interact? You can't distract from the control of the vehicle. We need to ensure also the security of the data. So, that transfer of data from a car to a payment terminal or wherever it is, that's got to be really, really safe as well. And And look, some of these technologies take longer for customers to trust. I mentioned it before. So, I think it's here now. It makes sense. We'll be able to, pay for stuff in your car and move on to the next thing you've got to do. Subscription's also an interesting one. Subscription-based services, the car becoming more like your smartphone or tablet, where you can load various apps into your car. BMW have mentioned they're going to start charging subscription for heated seats, which is a crazy concept, but it might become the norm that you have to start paying for that sort of service. So it's we'll definitely have to look at how we'd help car companies integrate maybe recurring and subscription payments into the car as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can see from a personal perspective some of those kind of visionary pieces becoming really interesting for the user. So, we spent our family holiday driving around Europe, and the amount of toll booths that you have to go through, and you're having to stretch across if you've not got someone on the other side of the vehicle. Whereas if you were kind of just driving straight through and the barriers were popping up and coming back down again, that'd be amazing. Similarly, with the subscription model, do you think BMW will be charging more in kind of surge pricing model? So when it's cold, it's for heated seats, and then also, for in the summer, if it's aircon, if you want to subscribe to aircon as well, then it might double the charges.
It's an interesting one. Who knows? Who knows where that would go? I hope not.
No, that's awesome. No, thank you so much for your time today. I'll just kind of do a little brief summary because there was quite a few stats and some decent figures in there. So, I mean, the first one is congratulations, your 333rd birthday. That's a mouthful to say. I wouldn't like to buy the candles for that cake, definitely. The first banking institution to provide a cash point, first banking institution to provide contactless payment, 17 million touch points in terms of customer data. 92% of buyers start their purchase journey online for a car. Super, super interesting. And then your kind of strap line at the moment is, payments part is just the start, which is once you've just talked about that kind of ecosystem that's been built, it is just the start, isn't it? Because there's so many different facets to it. Now, what we do with our guests is we like to ask them a question about what was your first car, or what is one of the most iconic cars that you would like. Let's. It's a bit of off the cuff that, but
no worries. I'm a big petrol head. So my first car was actually a silver Audi A4 1.8T, and I bought that because in that time the Audi A4s were absolutely smashing it in touring cars in the UK in the 90s, and I loved it. And they were so quick; they had to put a 50-kilogram weight in the car to stop them weighing too much. So I really, really love that car. I think in terms of aspirational, it's got to be a 911 for me. Porsche 911s, had pictures of them on my wall when I was a kid. Still love them. But I've got kids now, and they kind of take most of the money out of the Porsche fund. So what can you do? Hey, they're a bit more important.
No, definitely. Oh, that's brilliant. Thanks for giving a bit of more insight there as well. So if our listeners want to find out a bit more about Barclays and Barclaycard's endeavours, where should they go?
Yeah, sure. Go to our site, barclaycard.co.uk. We've got all the information there about our consumer and business propositions. You can also search for Barclays Developer, and there's a developer hub which has information on how to integrate to our gateway, information on our integrations to BigCommerce, which you can utilize there as well. So those two places are probably the best place to start. And if you need to get in touch from those websites, that there are mechanisms on there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ben. Thank you again for your time today and sparing some time to talk to us. And thank you once again to our listeners for tuning in.